Okay, so in this unit we're going to be talking about functions, and basically a function is a block of code that does something. What does it do? Whatever you code it to do, whatever you want it to do. And this is a way for us to make our programs more modular. I think up until this point we've just been coding from top to bottom, just one big long program. But really a better way of doing that is to cut up your program into smaller chunks. Because programs in the real world are not just, 100 lines of code, which is, probably the maximum that we'll have in this class. In the real world, programs can be millions of lines of code, and you don't just open up a file and start coding that kind of code from the top down. It's programmed in smaller pieces. Sometimes teams of people working on smaller pieces, and then it all kind of comes together for the end result, all these different moving parts to a large program. So we can use functions to cut up our program into smaller chunks. And this is going to be a continuing example here, but I'm going to start with just one function here. And ultimately, I'm going to end up with like a little slot machine program, which generates the pictures of the slot machine, like a cherries and a lemon and grapes, I think I have here. So, so we will take a look at this. So to define a function, you just use the def keyword. You give your function a good name. Typically, you'll use a verb as a function name. Functions are usually like action-oriented. They're doing something. They're making something happen. In this case, this function is going to provide one picture on the slot machine, either the cherries or the lemon. You know what I mean. We've all seen this. So it's like one thing, one icon on the slot machine. And it will generate that based on a random number that we give it. Okay, so I've got this num argument that's called an argument. Okay, so basically this is almost like a gumball machine. Think of this as like a gumball machine. I'm going to pass, it's almost like you pass something into the machine, like in real life you pass a quarter or a penny or something into the gumball machine, and then the machine spits out a gumball. Okay, so this is like a gumball machine. I'm going to give it a number, any number 1 through 4, and this little machine here is going to spit out either a picture of cherries or a picture of a lemon or a picture of grapes or a shamrock. Okay. So basically, the number is going to come through the door. The argument, I should say, is going to come through the door here. That's obviously not an official, not official language. It's just me like trying to use real world examples. I think of this is also called the parameter list, or your book likes the term argument. So this is like the argument list. It's not a list because we only have one thing here, but we could have multiple things here. And this is almost like a doorway into the function. Okay, so I call that the doorway, even though it's not technically called that. And so the number is going to come through the door, 1 through 4. Okay, I'm setting up the variables with the Unicode for the emojis. We're going to do this in emojis. Okay, and then it's just a decision statement. If that number that came through the door is a 1, I'm going to spit out cherries. If it came through as if the number coming through was 2, then I'm going to give back the lemon. This is the return statement. Okay, so if your function gives something back, it doesn't always have to, but this one does. And if you have to give something back from your function, then you use the return statement. So this function, even though it's fairly simple, there's a lot going on. I've got something coming in, which is the number, either 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then we've got something going out. Okay, which is one of these fruits or the shamrock. Okay, so as I said, it's like a gumball machine. This particular function is very much like a gumball machine. You put something in, you get something out. So that's our get picture function. So now, once I've coded that function, all I have to do is call it. This is the function call. And when you call the function, you're saying, hey, you, run your code. This is the function call here where I'm calling get picture. I'm using it in conjunction with a print statement. Let me run that. Okay, I got the cherries that time. And I'm using that with the print statement. I could do something like this. Now this is subtle here, but it's important. If I say, hey you, get picture, run your code. Here's the number 4. Give me that shamrock. I'm going to run that. No shamrock. Okay, what happened here? See, if you're getting something back from a function, like in this case, I would get the shamrock back because I passed a 4. I am getting that shamrock back, but I'm not doing anything with it. I'm not printing it. I'm not putting it in a variable. I'm not capturing it in any way. So it's like I did get the shamrock back, but in this case, the shamrock was lost in the abyss. This is obviously not a proper term. It's just one of my terms. But like if you don't catch that value coming back, that return value, then it just kind of slips through your fingers, okay? Or into the abyss, as I like to say. So this is going to work. That's why I am saying the cherries, because I'm at least printing the cherries. I'm doing something with the cherries. I'm printing them. So yeah, you know what? Just to prove that this works, I'm going to copy this and call the function 4 times. I'll call it for each of the 4 pictures. Okay. So there they are. Remember that whole thing, if I want them all in a row like an actual slot machine, I would have to, I'd have to do something like this. You know, if you don't specify the terminal character on your print statement, it's assumed to be a return, which will give you a line feed. But if you want to keep it on the same line, you specify that that's that it's a null string. In fact, I would put a spacer. Look at the way now I'm in Online GDB, which kind of bunches up the emojis, which is annoying. So I'll just put spaces here. That'll space them out a little more nicely. There we go. So now we're starting to look like a slot machine. So I'll end this video, and we're going to pick up the same type of example in the next video.